Howdy y'all, thank you for joining us today for this playthrough of War Machine from the Hero Pack. This is the deck that was in there, unchanged. All I did was sleeve it up and gave it some good amount of shuffles. And we're going to play it straight off the bat against the Rhino deck, which is the starter villain deck basically from the core box. And we got already, give this a couple more shuffles, yeah, just for good measure. And we already got that mixed up here with my standards. And I didn't realize till that I had messed it up off camera, but I done the randomizer and it came up with Hydra Patrol as the side gimmick we're going to have in here, and I have the obligation already mixed in here also. I was hoping to see it quickly here. There it is. Equipment malfunction. So we're going to give this a few more shuffles and put it over there. If this is your first time to join me, this is basically what I do with each of the hero packs. I mean, I do have some videos where we play some of my constructed decks. But usually whenever I get a new hero pack, I like to play it straight out of the box, see how it holds up. That way, if you are a new player and you just want to jump in and you want to join in a friend and you don't know if you want to actually, you just like, for instance case, you like War Machine, you just want to jump in, you don't want to really play the whole champions and buy everything, you just want to play it, well then you can just jump in, and as long as someone else has a core box, and play. So this is unchanged, and it's a leadership deck. And if this is your first time to join, what I do usually, and if it's not, sorry, I will bore you out, but you've probably heard this before already. What I usually do is I will play the first round, or turn, however you look at it, and I will play that, it's round, and I will play that first round basically explaining step by step each thing. That way you can kind of see how the game plays and know your options and know what you can do, and then basically be able to follow along as I'm going through the rest of the playthrough. And then if I hit something kind of new, I'll usually go into description on that. But let's get right into it. So this should have enough shuffles to it. This is the encounter / villain deck. We'll put that in there. So the way this works is we have to knock out Rhino 2 times. He has 2 stages here. It lets us know how many hit points he has per player. In this case, we're doing solo, so he gets 14 hit points. And we have to knock him out, that 14 hit points, and then after that, he'll get, if I remember right, it's 15 hit points per player. Yep. And when we knock him out twice, we win. He wins and we lose if he can pull off his scheme, which his main scheme is he is breaking into a shield facility and he is trying to steal vibranium. It starts with 0 threat on there, and every turn he's going to be accelerating and adding an extra threat per player, and if he ever gets 7 threat per player, he wins. So if he gets 7 threat on there, he pulls off his scheme. Or another way that the bad guy wins and the players lose is if all the characters are knocked out. In this case, since I am the solo player, if he knocks me out, he wins. So we just got to knock him out twice before he pulls off his scheme or KOs me. We started with our 10 hit points. Oh, first off, let's get to our alter ego side. You have to start on your alter ego side. He starts with his 10 hit points. He starts as James Rhodes here. And then we draw a hand size of 6. So we draw 6 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then one thing, I always forget it, but it is a step that I should mention to people. Normally, after you draw your hand size, you can choose to discard however many of these cards you want to, and then draw up to your hand size. So it basically lets you get a mulligan to make sure you get a good starting hand that you want to be able to do some stuff with. Since this is usually me trying out the deck, and even though I played the game a lot and I can kind of look at this and know what I'm supposed to do with the deck, and it is leadership, which is one of the ones I play the most of, I usually don't take my mulligans. So right off the bat, it starts with the player's phase. And during the player's phase, we are going to take actions until we choose not to do actions anymore. One of the basic actions is ones that are out here in play on cards that are in play. Hence, James Rhodes here has an action that says I can choose a War Machine card in my discard pile and shuffle it into my deck. Well, I have no discard pile right now, so I have no War Machine cards in there, but that is an action I could do if I wanted to. And sorry, I just got to thinking about it. Usually the actions will tell you they're limited. This does not, I just noticed. But surely it's got to be once per turn or round, because, or phase. Because if not, man, you could just keep all your War Machine cards shuffled back into your deck. I'm not gonna stop and try to look that up and make sure that's not a misprint, but I'm gonna assume it is only once. And usually it won't say it can only be done once, because usually it'll tell you to exhaust or do something like that. But in this case, it does not. So I'm going to assume that that can only be done once through this playthrough. And if I'm wrong, sorry about that. That just seems too strong for me to be able to do that. The other thing about his ability is he has a forced response, which is after you change to this form, discard each ammo counter from your identity. I've not changed to that form, so we'll get to that here real quick. Okay, one of the other actions you could do is going to be what this was talking about, is once per phase on your turn, you can switch forms from alter ego to your hero form, or vice versa from hero to alter ego form. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and flip to my hero form of War Machine here. And it's got locked and loaded. It's a response ability that says after you change to this form, place 5 ammo counters on War Machine. So since I just changed to this form, I put 5 counters on him, which are ammo counters. So we got some generic counters here, which is giving him 5 ammo counters. Get it off the artwork there. Okay, another action that you can do is basically, it's called a basic action or ability. And you can see those basic action or abilities here on the left. Thwart, attack, and defend. So what they are is, if I want to, I can choose to exhaust War Machine and thwart the scheme, which means I'd come over here and I would remove a number of threat equal to how much my thwart is. In this case, there was nothing on the main scheme, so I'm not going to thwart. Or I could choose to exhaust him and attack, and I would do this much damage to a bad guy of my choice. Or when someone is attacking me, or a bad guy's attacking me, I can choose to exhaust him, and I can reduce the incoming damage by my defense. And I'm going to show it on the other side. I hardly ever use it, but it is there. On the other side, if you are on your alter ego form, you can exhaust them to recover this many hit points. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to exhaust War Machine to attack Rhino for 2 damage. So Rhino takes 2 damage. And then next, you can play cards from your hand. And the way that works is, on the top of every card, they have a card cost on how much it costs to play said card. And in order to play that card, or in order to get to pay for that card, every card has a number of resources down here on the bottom. I'd say 95% of them are 1. You'll see there's some in this deck that have multiple resources on them. But in this case, I would just have to discard a number of cards equal to whatever cost I want to pay in order to get that resource. So to verify that, to explain that, I want to place or play Repulsor Beam here. It costs 1 resource to play Repulsor Beam. So I'm going to discard this card for that 1 resource. And now I have paid for Repulsor Beam. Repulsor Beam is an event and it is a hero action, which means I had to be in hero form to do it. So I did that. And now I am going to attack because I paid for the cost. And the hero action attack is remove 1 ammo counter from War Machine, and then I get to deal 4 damage to an enemy. So I remove 1 ammo counter from him and do 4 damage to an enemy. I'll do 4 damage to Rhino. So Rhino takes 4 damage. And that's pretty much all the actions that you can do on your turn. I can continue playing cards here, but I kind of want to hold on to this Scorched Earth because since it is Hydra Patrol that got mixed in, odds are I could get some minions that come into play, and Scorched Earth lets me do damage to Rhino and the minions. So as much as I would like to play that, I'd rather wait and see if a minion comes down during their turn. Because right now it would just do 3 damage to Rhino. So I'd rather hold on to that. But when you have no actions that you can do or no actions that you want to do, you choose to go to your end of your turn. And then once all the players have done their turns, so in this case solo, I've done all of my turn, we go to the end phase, or that step, however you want to look at it, and I get to choose to discard any number of cards from my hand that I do not want to keep in my hand. So in this case, I'm going to discard these 3 cards, keeping this 1 card. And then after I've chosen to discard, I draw up to whatever my hand size is. Remember, my starting hand size was 6, but in hero form, my hand size is now 5. So I will draw up to my starting hand size, or to that hand size. I kept 1, so I draw 4 new cards. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm just going to go back real quick. There's where I was talking about how you have some cards that have 2. But as you can see, this is a resource card. It is meant to be used as a resource. And then it's max 1 per deck. Alright, so those go into my hand. And then the last thing you do after you draw up to your hand size is unexhaust or ready all of your cards in your play area. Then we move on to the bad guy phase. The bad guy phase starts out immediately with accelerating his scheme. In this case, he accelerates it by adding 1 threat per player to the scheme. So he adds 1 threat to the scheme. And it does say here, if this stage is completed, the players lose the game, like I had mentioned. There are some bad guys that will have other schemes that you go through, and then usually their last scheme says this exact thing. In this case, Rhino is just going to try to pull this one off. So he has 1 to his 7 scheme that he needs per player. Or 1 threat to the 7 threat he needs per player to pull off his scheme. Next, the villain, Rhino, is going to activate. And he activates dependent upon what form I am in. If I am in alter ego form, then he is going to scheme. And he's going to add more threat to this scheme, to the main scheme. If I am in hero form, he will attack and do possible damage to my guy. I am in hero form, so hence he will attack. In this case, I am going to defend, so that means I have to exhaust him, to defend. And that means the attack that is coming in will be reduced by 2. Now we go to Rhino. So right now he's doing 2 damage to me because he's attacking me. but he gets what's called a boost card. So we deal him a boost card. And then there are other things that could deal some other boost cards dependent on it. But in this case, you reveal all the boost cards. When revealing the boost cards, you ignore the whole card and you're looking down here at the bottom. And you're looking for, and of course none of them came up, so I'm going to go grab his villains here. Which, this is the villain that's set to the side, that there's a card in here that could possibly make him come out. Every hero that plays has a villain or arch nemesis that could come out. This is War Machine's nemesis. Let you know it down there. So what we were looking for were these symbols down here. For every one of those symbols, it adds to his attack or scheme if he was scheming. So in this case, I drew 0, so that means he's going to add 0 to the 2 damage that he is doing. So he's doing 2 plus 0. And I'm going to go on a little sidetrack here just to show it. The only other thing that could have came up that we would have noticed is notice that one shows that symbol we were looking for and a boost star. The boost star means now we have to go look and see, and it lets us know that if this was revealed as a boost, and it's usually underneath a line here, it would add something to it. So in this case, it was just came up as 0. So he does 2 plus 0, 2 damage. I defended, so 2 minus 2, I take no damage. But while that was cool, I took no damage. Remember, I do not get to ready War Machine until the end of my turn. So that means now that I just chose to defend, I'm not going to be able to do a thwart or attack on my next turn unless I have a way to ready him in some way. Alright, after the villain activates, also any minions that are in play, and normally the minions would be coming over here and you would know who they're engaged with. But in this case, since I'm playing solo, I like to just separate it out and put all the minions in one area. If the minions were in here, or were in play, if there were some, then they would activate and they would do the same thing that Rhino did, in this case attacking, except they would not get the boost card. They would just do whatever it says on their card. So in this case, no minions, nothing happens. So now we go to the encounter step. The encounter step is each player is dealt 1 encounter card. And then after they're all dealt, each player activates, and now we look at each of the cards and we have to do what the card says. So in this case, we have an attachment, Enhanced Ivory Horn. We attach this attachment to Rhino. It's basically going to give him a +1 attack. So he's going to have 3 damage in attacks now. And as a hero action, we could spend 3 of the strength icons resources to get rid of this card. So for now, this attaches to Rhino, and he is now doing +1 damage unless we pay those 3 strength icons. The last part of the villains, after they're done, and everyone's done all their encounters, is to pass the first player marker to the next player. In this case, as we're playing solo, we're not going to be doing that. And that is it. That is how the rounds go. It's pretty much that simple. We're just going to go back and forth now, trying to see if we can knock out Rhino twice before he can pull off his scheme or KO me. So we just go back to beginning my turn, and this is where I wish I knew my deck a little bit better, but I guess we're going to find out here. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this into play, which is an ally. It is Iron Man. So I'm going to bring this into play. It costs me 3 resources. So I'm going to pay 3 resources. And I'm going ahead and get rid of this. So yes, you can do 3 damage to Rhino, but it was only just in case of another minion came out. So there's my 3 resources. And that puts Iron Man into play. He is an ally. He has 3 hit points. And I know these are damage counters, but I like to go ahead and put them on there just so that I know where they're at. And it's only because certain cards, which if you watch my other playthroughs, you see why. There's some that have variable hit points. I guess you could do something like that. I just like to take the hit points off. All right. So now Iron Man is into play, and he has a response ability here, which says, as a response after Iron Man enters play, Search your deck and discard pile for a tech upgrade and add it to your hand, and then shuffle your deck. Okay, so we found 5, and as you can see, they are upgrades and they are tech. So we need to choose one of these to put into our hand and then shuffle the rest back and the rest of our deck. So we got, this gives him the aerial trait, and after you change the hero form, you exhaust this to give him a tough status card. What a tough status card is it's a card that the first time I would take damage, instead of taking damage, I would just get rid of the tough status card. So, pretty cool. This one says exhaust gauntlet gun, generate a wild resource for a War Machine event, and give him another ammo counter. So basically makes it to where I get the wild resource, means I can basically make, without having to discard a card, get a resource, and it gives me an ammo. So it might be cool, but it's only good for War Machine events. And then hero action attack, exhaust missile launcher, remove 1 ammo counter from War Machine to deal 2 damage to an enemy. And this gains ranged. All ranged means is some bad guys do damage back to you when you do damage to them. It's called retaliate, or it could even be the other way on the hero. But either way, this is range just means I ignore that retaliate damage. And then we have a shoulder cannon. As a hero action attack, exhaust shoulder cannon, deal 1 damage to an enemy. You may remove 1 ammo counter from War Machine to ready the shoulder cannon. So that means he can just keep going, rat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat, until you just run out of ammo. Seems pretty cool. We just choose one of these. I'll admit, I'm going to choose the shoulder cannon. I didn't really have to think about that too hard. I mean, I like the other ones, but it's because of that tough status card thing I talked about. I played against Rhino enough to know he has ways to get these tough status cards. So this 1 damage is really nice to get rid of that, oh, he's going to ignore all this big damage I'm about to do to him. Instead, I'll do 1 damage, get rid of that status card, and now I can rat-a-tat-tat-tat, I can attack, I can do all these other things. So I'm going to go for the shoulder cannon and put that in my hand. So we got to shuffle these back in, and I will do a cut. All right, that should be enough shuffles. We'll give another little cut there. All right. Well, I was going to do the 4 damage with repulsor beam, but I think instead I'm going to go ahead and bring out that shoulder cannon. So discard 2 resources to put this upgrade into play. And what an upgrade is an upgrade is basically something that attaches to an ally or hero, or character, I should say. I should just say it attaches to a character. But here we go. So I attach this to War Machine. And now I'm going to go ahead and activate that hero action while I'm in hero form. It says exhaust shoulder cannon to deal 1 damage to an enemy. And then I may remove 1 ammo counter from War Machine to ready the shoulder cannon. So let's deal the 1 damage to an enemy, Rhino. And then I can remove an ammo counter to an exhaust shoulder cannon. And then I'm going to exhaust shoulder cannon to deal 1 damage. So I'm going to go ahead and just save us some time and exhaust and unexhaust this 3 times. So I'm doing the 1. Well, actually, this does more damage than I was thinking, because I am an Aggie and obviously can't count, because I'm going to exhaust it, do a damage. We'll just do this one at a time to make sure my tiny brain is not looking at this wrong. Pay the ammo counter to unexhaust this. Exhaust it to do 1 damage to Rhino. Pay an ammo counter to unexhaust this. Exhaust it to do 1 damage to Rhino. And I am right. It does do 1 more than what I was thinking, so it works out. Pay the ammo counter to unexhaust it. And then exhaust it to do 1 damage to Rhino. But now I have no more ammo counters, so I cannot unexhaust the shoulder cannon again. Alright, next we're going to go to Iron Man. So, what an ally is able to do, you'll notice they have the thwart and attack just like your main character does, or your hero. Well, they basically get exhaust and do the exact same thing, thwarting and attacking for whatever number you see there. But you notice they have a little consequence star, a little star in there. That's called a consequence star, or consequence damage. So, if I choose to do one of these abilities with Iron Man, thwarting or attacking, after he does it, he will take however many stars are there in damage for doing said action. And then you notice they don't have a defense, and it's because they have hit points. So basically, if they defend, they would still exhaust, but they would just have to take it all in the face and hopefully survive. So in this case, I am going to exhaust Iron Man to attack Rhino for 2 damage. Taking Rhino to 1. And then now, because there's 1 consequence star there, Iron Man has to take 1 damage, putting him to 2. And because I have not done it yet this turn, I'm going to go ahead and switch to alter ego form, which, remember, there is a response action there that says after I change this form, discard each ammo counter from my identity. So I have no ammo counters on my identity, so they go, so 0, 0, they go away. But now I have another action. Well, he's still exhausted. But I have another action here that says choose a War Machine card in my discard pile and shuffle it into my deck. This repulsor beam seems pretty good, so I'm going to go ahead and use that action and shuffle this into my deck. And with that, I have no actions here I can do anymore because I've done all of the ones that are available. I have no cards in hand, so I'm going to go to my end step and draw. First I discard. I have no cards in hand, so I have nothing to discard. Now I draw up to my hand size of 6 because I'm back in alter ego form. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We ready all of our cards. Rhino's going to accelerate the scheme by adding 1 threat per player. Now Rhino is going to activate. I am in alter ego form, so now that means he is going to scheme. So he gets dealt a boost card for scheming. And he's going to scheme for 3. So I could lose here because I took a chance by going in alter ego form. But I wanted to reload because remember, when I flip over to my hero form, I'm going to reload 5 more damage. So I'm hoping to just take him out. But when I deal this encounter card to me, let me get to that. So yeah, he schemed. Now he has 5 to the 7, so he just needs 2 more threat on here, and we lose. No minions, so nothing else gets schemed on there, or no more threat gets added. But now we have to deal ourselves this encounter card. Now there are 2 cards in this deck that I know of from the standard card pool that just have him scheme, which most likely means we will lose. So let's hope this is not one of them. So it says when revealed, it is assault, it is a treachery. So when revealed, if I am an alter ego, this card gains surge. If I'm a hero, the villain attacks. Well, I am an alter ego, so it gains surge. What surge means is we basically deal ourselves another card. Ugh. And what we got here was Shocker. He is a minion, so he comes into play. And this is basically, he would engage with me. But since I'm playing solo, I just put all the minions up here, like I said. So we have Shocker here. And he is basically going to have 3 hit points. He schemes for 1 and attacks for 2. And remember, they don't get the boost card like the villain does. But it does say here, when revealed, deal 1 damage to each hero. And the way I interpret that, even though, because this is my identity, even though people would say, well, that's my hero, I'm not in hero form. He doesn't know to attack James Rhodes. So I'm not a hero, and this is not a hero, this is an ally. So I'm going to take no damage. If I did that wrong, I'm sorry, but that's just the way I read it and understand it. So Shocker comes into play. He has 3 hit points. Now I wish I would have saved that thing where it does 3 damage to all bad guys, but, well. All right, we go back to the beginning of my turn. So for our first action, let's go ahead. It says choose a War Machine card in your discard pile and shuffle it into your deck. And this Repulsor Beam, which I think is just so good. 1 for 4 damage. Seems good. So we're going to shuffle that in. All right. And I think if I do the math right, I think just because of what I had in my hand, man, these War Machine cards are just so overpowering. And this Shoulder Cannon, being able to just do that multiple times. But anyways, yep, I think I got him this turn. We're going to see. So let's flip War Machine to his hero form. Putting 5 ammo counters on him. Which is what the response ability here is. After you change this form, place 5 ammo counters on War Machine. Next, I'm going to exhaust Shoulder Cannon to do 1 damage to Rhino, which is enough to knock out this stage, taking him to his next stage. And it says, when revealed, search the encounter deck and discard pile for the break it and take it side scheme and reveal it. Shuffle the encounter deck. I have not seen it in a discard pile yet. I haven't seen any schemes, so... And we'll talk about the side schemes. And if I misplan this, this could end very poorly for me, but we will see. So as I'm shuffling this, we'll talk about what the side schemes are. So what the side schemes are, as you can see here, it says that it has a number of threat on it. So in this case, it adds 2 threat to it. And then it said, when revealed, place an additional 1 threat here per player. Solo, 1. So I got 3 threat on there. And what side schemes do is they basically make the game harder in some way, usually adding some sort of symbol here. In this case, this symbol says during that encounter step, when I deal encounter cards out, I would have to deal an additional encounter card. So normally I'll plan real hard to make sure that when I take him to his next stage, because I know his stage 2 usually brings this out, that I can be able to get rid of this. Instead, I think I have enough to just KO him, which I wasn't sure I'd be able to do at first, because a lot of the Hydra guys have an ability called Guard, which says basically that I have to take out that guard before I can take out the villain. Shocker does not say anything such. But even if they did, I have something in hand that would have taken care of that. But either way, we're going to see if we can just burn him down. And if I done the math wrong, we will possibly do very poorly because he is probably going to go off on us and pull off his scheme. But, all right. It said he gets 15 per player, so he gets 15 in his 15 hit points. Let's see if we can take out those 15 hit points now. All right, we are still finishing off Shoulder Cannon, which said I can remove an ammo counter to ready my Shoulder Cannon. Next, I'm going to do Scorched Earth, which is the thing I was talking about. So even if you would have got the guard into play, because I'm going to pay the 3 resources here for Scorched Earth, which basically says remove 3 ammo counters from War Machine to deal 3 damage to each enemy in play. So 3 damage to Shocker, KO Shocker, and then 3 damage to Rhino. We're going to have Iron Man go ahead and attack Rhino for 2 damage. Taking him to 10. And now he takes his Consequence Star in damage. And then We're going to exhaust shoulder cannon to do 1 damage to Rhino. Yeah, we're going to do it out 1 damage at a time. Rat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat. Pay the ammo counter to unexhaust shoulder cannon. Exhaust shoulder cannon to do 1 more damage to Rhino. Remove the ammo counter. I know I could just speed this up and just do the math, but I'm just doing it. Unexhaust it. Exhaust it to do a damage. If anything, as much as I'm slowing it down, it means I'm going to have to do a lot of cutting and editing as I'm doing this. And then another damage. There we go. And then now I'll have War Machine attack with his basic to do 2 damage to Rhino. And then we will play Repulsor Beam, discard this, paying for it. Oh, I cannot do that. Oh. Well, I mean, it don't matter. I was just going to do it so I didn't have to do it with Iron Man. So instead, because I'm an idiot, because it says I have to remove an ammo counter and I used all the ammo counters, I meant to save that last one. But instead, we will play Go Down Swinging for free, because it's 0. It says as a hero action, discard an ally you control, deal damage to an enemy equal to that ally's printed cost. So, discard an ally I control, Iron Man. His cost is 3, which means I do 3 damage to Rhino, which is enough to KO him. Alright, yep, I just melted him down, but it did give you a chance to really see how the deck plays, but pretty much that last card was what you're supposed to do here. From what I can see, that's what you're supposed to do. That's the reason they have these allies that do certain things when they come into play, and ways for you to play allies from your discard pile, and ways to basically discard them to get rid of some of the threat from the scheme. Oh, nope, that's the one that's damaged. There it is. The one that gets rid of threat from the scheme and whatnot. So, if you're familiar with the game of Magic the Gathering, basically plays like a black deck, but we just kind of melted him down. And that's kind of what I was saying after I'd done the unboxing of this. Was somebody asked me what I thought of the deck without playing it, and I was like, well, right off the bat, I think if you get, and that's true with most characters, if you can get a lot of their personal cards and just do all their stuff, you're going to do fairly well. Which is why you don't want to bog the deck down too much unless it's ways to trigger combos and whatnot. But also that shoulder cannon, that just seemed really, really good. I don't know how else to explain it. But yep, melted him down, so that was a quick and easy one. Feels pretty good since I think the last one I played was Adam Warlock and I lost, so. But yep. Anyways, if you haven't watched that, sorry about the spoiler. But yeah, so thank you for watching and have a great day.